Hello guys, and welcome to a new WARNO video today by me, Vulcan. In this one I have for you a 4 versus 4 on Stoneware, and I'm going to be playing with the 76th Airborne. So both the map and the division new today, and this map is absolutely beautiful. You can see that it has these two big quarries on the right hand side that have been completely dug out. And it is surrounded by a bunch of industrial buildings, and then further over we have a bunch of small villages and towns, lots of sort of urban areas to fight over with forests on the flank. It's a really cool map, and we're seeing plenty of it today on this right hand side where there are these two awesome terrain features. Unfortunately you can't go down into the crater, but I feel like to a certain extent that wouldn't be too useful for most units, so kind of makes sense. But we are off. Let's have a quick look at the units that we've got down. So I'm going to be starting with 4 Spetsgruppe on the right hand side. These are going to be spreading out into the forest here to prevent troops coming from Ivan getting to Paul. Then we have a couple of Desantniki Metis that are going to be heading towards Jot from this direction. We're going to be following up on the right with the BRDM2s, and there's also a Desantniki Metis heading in from that direction. We got a Igla coming in with a Skrezet, a BMD3 Recon, and the BRDM2 Strela 1. I've got 2 more Spetsgruppe on the left-hand side, Desant Conkers, and an Igla with the Skrezet there. So the 76th Airborne, pretty strong division, honestly, in my opinion. I think it's going to do pretty well in 1v1, and it's a solid division for team games because of its strong aircraft. Like the Su-24s, when they got a buff, they became really strong, and now this is a division that has those buffed Su-24s alongside so many MiG-31s that can really help you control the skies. So whilst your AA is somewhat lacking, you got those MiGs to really lock down the skies for you. You've also got some really strong units in the form of the Spetsgruppe, which are very good at the start of the game. Here I'm going to be catching out Tommy, both of us new to the map, and I just happened to unload first, so he's going to be losing 2 units of infantry there for free. But the RPG-27, super good AT weapon with its 21 penetration and 25 round per minute rate of fire with the extra veterancy here. And then we've also got the Satchel, so that if we get into the same building as an enemy or we get within the 150 meter range, you really start to chunk your opponents very quickly. So really strong opening forces, especially since they do get the Airborne trait, which allows them to deploy further than Recon squads at the start. And you can just get these into a really good positions, especially when you're fighting over urban areas and also forested areas. BMD3 here, going to be able to catch out the VAB PC on the backside. Desantniki Metis have been doing a good job so far, however this one's currently getting cut down by the TRM 2000. Now the TRMs with the Tarask on the back, these are actually pretty strong. Like these 20mm guns, really solid for taking out infantry these days. Alongside the Skrezets, so the Skrezets also benefited quite greatly from the buff to AA units, which took away the malice that caused them to do half damage. Now they do full damage, and it's really apparent when you've got an AA unit like that just directly attacking enemy infantry. BMD3 is going to get attacked by the Humvee TOW and the Alouette AS-11, so I have to smoke that off, and that's going to retreat for the time being. So unfortunately, I did end up losing all of my Desantniki Metis here, but my Luaz is going to get out of there, it's going to come around, it's going to capture Paul, make sure that we can stop this +2 that our opponents have. You might notice that sort of B sound. Well, that's the new UAV, the Schmel 1. And this is a really interesting unit. The UAV is a unique unit that doesn't have ECM, but they are still harder to hit. So because they're so small, even though they only have 2 health, they can sort of dodge missiles quite well. Now I'm not sure exactly how this works, whether or not it's just like a hidden ECM stat basically, but either way they are relatively difficult to hit. And here you can see that the Schmel actually going down into the quarry here slightly. Going to be able to cover it on the way up. And I think these quarries actually are going to be really, really useful for sort of Apaches and like really good attack helicopters to sort of pop up over the edge, do a lot of damage, and then dive back down into the quarries. I'm really looking forward to trying that out in the future. But for now, Spec Group are going to be coming up against Tommy's sappers. Unfortunately, we are just purely outnumbered here, so the Spec Group are going to have to back up. And we're going to have to try and get them together to face off against the sappers. Together, if they get picked off individually, then they don't really have a chance. Unfortunately, Muskrezit's going to get taken out. But we have a BATRD here on the way with the Desant Pulamachiki. They're going to be trying to get into position to basically contest this sector again, because we lost basically everything we had in this sector except from the BRDM2 on the backside there. I do have a BMD3 and a Razvedka BMD3 on the way. You might see that I was trying to sort of right click into the middle of the crater. That was when I was trying to work out if I could actually send anything down here. Also, new unit, RT Razvedka. Now this little symbol here, that's SIGINT. So this circle, this blue circle, if this blue circle is the only circle you can see and the icon is blue, then that means that there is something within this circle. If there is not something in with this circle, there'll be a bigger white circle. And if you can see the SIGINT symbol, that means something is within that white circle. So considering I have units here, and I obviously know that there's nothing much on this right-hand side, there's nothing behind us, most likely. It means that there's most likely something here. So you can somewhat deduce where enemy units are going to be with this SIGINT trait. And I thought that it wasn't going to be very strong. But honestly, having now used it quite a bit, I think it's very strong. Because you can quite easily triangulate with these circles when you have more than one where enemy units are, even though you can't actually see them. And then that just opens up artillery to completely wipe out the enemy. So in team games, it's actually a lot more useful than I originally anticipated. Now Su-24 TRM coming in there with the thermobaric bombs. You might have noticed the effects here, although this was being hit by grad fire at the same time, so the backside of that sector absolutely deleted. Unfortunately, Davis's BRDM's not making much ground against the VAB Mephisto here. But Spec Group have bumped into Delta on the left-hand side, so we're going to be having that engagement. Got a MiG-31 hanging out on the backside here, looking for enemy kills. And then on the ground, we got the Desant Pulamachiki trying to engage the Delta here, but they're getting pinned by the sniper. I do have one of the new machine guns on the way, the 6U6. This is a really interesting machine gun. Just the way that it's set up, it has an optic on the top of it, which allows it to aim at helicopters. So you can use it for that potentially as well. BTRD robot getting into position, trying to jump off the conkers here. You see I have also brought up a Desant Spetsnazvedka, another really, really strong Spets squad. Like these Spetsnazvedka, they've got the SVD, they've got an RPG-22, which again benefits from the great rate of fire, and they've also got an Igla, so solid opening squads. Like between the Spetsnazvedka and the Spetsgruppe, you can really get some strong openers. But unfortunately for me, these Spetsgruppe coming up against multiple sappers with flamethrowers, and then the TRM 2000 is going to take advantage of the stun. And since the Spetsgruppe can't stand still because of the flames, the RPG is not going to fire, and they're going to get chewed up. But we are managing to take care of the reservists here. Like the reservists going down, we got the Marines also going to be trying to get involved, but the Spetsgruppe high cohesion, whilst the Marines and the reservists currently on very low cohesion. Unfortunately, Commando is going to bump into my Igla back here, so that's going to get taken out. But we are making ground back into this sector as Davis has come over with his BRDMs, with his BMD2s. He's dropped off a couple of descents into this position. Now I'm going to be bringing in my MiG-31s. Going for the engagement onto the F-15 and the F-4F. Unfortunately not able to really make those work. But we're opening up the skies for the Su-24s to come in and drop their thermobaric bombs onto the sappers, onto the Marines. So we're able to take out the sappers. Unfortunately, the Marines survived that. Wasn't close enough. But the Spetsnaz is going to go down. Yeah, unfortunately, the thermobaric bombs, they are actually very powerful when they hit the mark. But when they are missing slightly, they don't really have much area of effect. Not as much as you'd imagine. So you do have to bear that in mind. And I think in most cases, like normal HE is actually better. So that is something that I think I switched out later on. But the Su-24 here coming in, I'm using the AT-1 variant because it has fire and forget missiles as opposed to semi-active. And that allowed me to take out this Abrams. Bonkers though, in a nice position now. We just need to get a leader in here to capture this so that we can continue to push the conquest in our favor. Otherwise, my Spec Grouper, they're falling back. I'm going to try and get a supply over here to replenish these squads and also fix up the BMD-3. So 2 GAZ-66 on the way. Smells up back out again to provide me with more recon information. You can see I do have a second one. And the one thing that I didn't really like about the Schmells from using them so far is that they do take up an air slot. And in a division where your aircraft are really, really strong, it somewhat doesn't seem worth it almost. But maybe if you bring them one at a time, it would be okay. Instead of 2 at a time, like I'm doing here. And I've got one that was refueling. Yeah, I think it's maybe a waste to use like more than one of these at a time in your air tab, because you're basically taking away slots that you would otherwise use for the Su-24s, which are a pretty pivotal part of how this division can find success. The gas is on the way. I've even brought up some more. I'm also going to be bringing up these RT Razvedka squads to the right hand side in the Luaz here. Those will be able to help me triangulate where the enemy infantry is in this forest, or at least tell me if I've managed to clean out everything in a certain area. So Shmal just hanging around. You can see that this one is dodging quite a few missiles on the left hand side here for the time being. Another one coming in there from the Eagle, and which missed as well. Eventually it does get shot down. It's not going to live forever. But you can see how even with like technically no ECM, these things do survive pretty well. And now we have a bit of a problem here because the Desant Igla going to come under fire from the TRM 2000, and the Desant Spetsnaz have bumped into both of those flamer units. Also my BMD-1 going to be coming under fire from that 20mm, and it only has a machine gun, so that's not going to work out. The BMD-3 just get cleaned out by enemy infantry. So it's up to the Spec Grouper, who have now been replenished, to go and fight their way back through the forest. And I am going to be getting these infantry into position. They may be a little bit further forwards than I would have liked though, because the way you got to play with these, I think the best thing to do is just to have them way further back and then just creep them forwards, so you know when you're bumping into enemy infantry, and you have like a sort of a rough sort of early warning system as to when you're actually going to have to engage enemy forces. I'm just letting the BCRD here with its grenade launcher try and kill off the VAB. It did manage to kill off the TRM 2000, so that was good. The 6U6 here is firing from this building, actually going to be able to do some damage to the P4 Milan. But here comes laser guided bomb from the Su-24. That's going to wipe those out. Awesome effect now on the laser guided bombs. You saw that, just the shockwave flying out. Unfortunately, Crowtail's smashing me out of the sky, but really, really awesome to see that in action, and it certainly shut down a lot of the light armor play that was coming in from this direction. Now Super Etendard coming in from Tommy. Another new unit, but that's going to be intercepted by my MiG-31s, and he couldn't find the shots with it. Su-24 also now coming in. And you'll see those come down and absolutely melt that side. I'm also bringing in the Su-24MC to try and take out the Crotal, but no luck so far. Those thermobaric bombs managed to get through. We did manage to kill a Crotal. I think it was with the AT-1. That was quite nice, but still more AA to worry about in the tree line here. So I'm not going to hang about. We'll get that Su-24 out of there. And you can see how much better the Su-24s turn these days than what they used to. So Tommy here, doing what I was talking about earlier. Cheeky pop-up attack with the Alouette. Unfortunately for him, they're Alouettes, so they're not going to be that good. But if that was, say, like a couple of Apaches and they popped up that close to your line, that Strella's dead. Like, the AA is just dead here very, very quickly. Especially if, like, the first missile doesn't hit due to, like, the ECM of the Apache. That Apache's just going to absolutely smash things to pieces. The Spec Group are doing a good job here, and you can see I am continuing to clean out VABs that Tommy's pushing through the tree line. So the Spec Group are getting a lot of value, and this one I've managed to get back to the Gazes once again to replenish itself. Now both these Razvedka telling me with their SIGINT trait that there is still units within these blue circles, so I'm slowly but surely cleaning things out with the Spec Gruppe on that right hand side. Now further to the left, Davis still sitting in a good position here, has a nice blob of units ready to go. We do need to make sure that we capture this soon. Our opponents are sitting on the +2 as the engagement continues across the map. This left hand side, really, really awesome. Or right hand side, sorry, really awesome with these quarries. Big, big fan of this terrain. It's so unique. Very, very cool idea. So Desantniki are going to have to fall back from that building as they are being pushed pretty hard. The smoke cover there working out very nicely. Spets Group are here doing very, very strong, very, very well. Very strong, taking out the VAB T-20, also killing off the Mistral squad. Now getting the better of the Marines because we are in range to use the satchel charge, so we're getting the shock trait as well. Yeah, those Marines, whilst they do have the Resolute trait, really, really struggling in this situation. Now the Desant Pulamachiki and the Desantniki BMD trying to retreat from this situation. 6U6 machine gun getting on target, and so is the Desantniki Metis, but the Pulamachiki do not make it out. We do manage to trade for the Marines, so that is okay. And I also take out the Marines on the right hand side, so I'm happy with that. And I'm reinforcing with the last couple of Spetsgruppe that I have up my sleeve. And having 4 of these next to one another is really, really strong. Although it does make them quite a decent bombing target. The EBR-90 going to get taken out as one of the new French units. Absolutely blown to pieces from wheel taken off there. Very cool. Apache is being shot at by the machine gun, as you can see. Not doing too much damage, unfortunately. I'm going to try and get the Strela to move up and help engage, but the Apache got the Hellfire on target. Now I have more units coming up. We got another BMD-3. We got the BTRD robot. The Skrezet's going to help out. Razvedka BMD-3. Solid amount of light vehicles and IFVs that will be able to put some damage onto these Marines. So just moving the BMDs over so they can put their 30mm auto cannons on target. Super Edendar trying to rocket me there, but did get taken out. Not going to be unloading the Conquest just yet. There's no need for me to do so. That would just let it get killed by the Marines. So just going to keep that nice and safe in the BTR. We just keep that BTR forward facing. And they'll slowly put machine gun fire downrange. So Spetsgrouper, meanwhile, still pushing through here. Tommy has got the gendarme here, which are basically military police for the airborne forces. They are technically helping quite a bit with that military police trait because it does give a suppression regeneration bonus. Well, my MiG-31's going in for a nice air engagement there. MiG-31s of Davis also trying to have a go. Unfortunately, the Phantom 2s and the Super Etendards managed to get out. Su-24 looking for a kill onto the Crow Towers, but we're not managing to find it because I'm flying right over them. So instead, I'm just going to go in for a bombing strike. We'll drop the thermobaric bombs on them and hopefully take out at least one of those Crow Towers. Spetsgrouper managing to avoid that. Are going to be able to continue to push through the tree line here. And you'll notice that this SIGINT Razvedka now has the big white circle. And what that means is there's nothing in this blue circle, but there is something within the white circle. So Su-24 coming over, actually taking out the Crow Tower for us. Really, really nice. I like the Su-24 a lot because it is fire and forget. It kind of just aims for itself if you fly over an area and you don't have to worry about microing it too much. So here we're just going to be coming across, looking for the kill onto the M1 IP. Unfortunately, going to miss this time around. Davis doing a really nice combination here, bringing in the E-War Su-24 MPs with the Seed. Those E-War versions, they reduce enemy radar AA by 20% accuracy, and so it allows you basically to get the Seed on target even if the radar's like turned on. You can still like fly into it and take potentially less shots because their accuracy is reduced. Now, of course, if the radar's turned off, it doesn't really have an effect, but that just comes down to you microing your radar or not. So we can see here that both of these RT Razvedka now clear of forces within the blue circle. So I'm going to start moving up until there are units basically in the blue circle, and then it will turn blue again and tell me that they're close. And so that's why these are really, really effective right now. And so I've got one over here telling me that there's still units within the blue circle, somewhere here probably. And then we've got this one that's going to move up and basically tell me exactly where units are here. So like as soon as it goes over this building, if this turns blue, then there's something in the building, for example. If there's not something in the building, then it's not going to turn blue. So we know there's probably nothing garrisoned there that's hidden. Over on this right-hand side, we know that there's nothing really anywhere here. And basically I'm waiting to see if after killing these units, if this just kind of turns off completely. Because if it does, then that means there's no infantry at all in this area. Or nothing to worry about at all in this area. Now, personally, I do feel like the SIGINT trait should be like the GRU trait, where you have to be stood still for a little while before it comes into effect, because you can see here that on the move it still works. But it turns out it was just the leader here and this infantry squad on the edge of this sector, so we're going to be able to move forwards and take both of those out. Davis coming in again with his combination of the E-War Su-24s and the Seed to take out a Crow Tower there. Loads of Eagles coming in on the backside. My MiG-31s are going to be coming in, but I'm going to have to keep them back and relatively safe. So we're going to be taking that out, and as soon as this commando dies, you'll see it go to the white circle, like that. It's just really, really good way of identifying where enemy units are, particularly in situations like this, where you know exactly where they are based on the position of the rest of your forces. I feel like this would be a fantastic tool to have in single player, actually. Anyway, nice kill on the left-hand side. ZU-23s moved up by Davis do manage to take out an enemy Apache. My Conkers, in the meantime, actually looking for an ATGM shot onto the UH-60. Just missed. BMD-3s looking to take out the P4 Milan there. ZU-23 beats us to the punch, but one of my BMD-3s does go down. One thing I did notice about using BMD-3s is how They are not really very cost efficient against other vehicles, but they are very cost efficient against enemy infantry. So if you manage to take out a couple of enemy infantry squads with a BMD3, that's great. But if you come up against like an enemy vehicle that also has an HGM, generally you're gonna be trading poorly, because it's not like a BMP3 where you have 2,800 meter range on the Bastion missile. You're using a Conquer's M, so you're going to be engaging things like Milans and TOW2s at the same range. So there's always that chance that you're just going to end up trading. And say if a Bradley hits you, it's like 60, 70 points, right? And then you're losing 115. Same with like a P4 Milan, you know, just like a little truck with a Milan on it, comes over 40 points, bang, there goes your 100 point BMD3. So in those situations, like, they can be really, really sort of poor value. And that's one thing you do need to worry about with this division. Anyway, I eventually brought in a load of nonners. I was sitting on a bunch of points, so decided to bring those in. And I'm just going to be trying to counter battery a little bit on that right-hand side, making sure to move these afterwards. Got another UAV hanging about here over the forest. BRDMs just hanging out on this right-hand side, because we know that there's probably something in this forested area still due to this Razvedka. I could probably move that up and try and spot exactly where it is. But here we're basically seeing that there's nothing coming into the sector. Here we know that there is still something in position. So we've got the BTRD swimming across. I say swimming. Diving, I should say. And then we've got the Desant bez Razvedka. And then I'm going to be moving up to sweep this out. So you can see my air tab has basically been full for this entire game. And that is something that is going to be quite common with the 76th Airborne. I think if you're not using the Su-24s and the MiG-31s, then you're really doing it wrong. Without them, this division is quite anemic because you don't have any helicopters. The reason this division doesn't have any helicopters, for anyone wondering, is because the operation and like Nemesis sort of scenario that it's a part of was deep in France, so it wasn't like they could get any helicopters to that position. Instead, they were like airdropped, which is why it's mostly like infantry and these BTRs. I do personally think that they could add airdropping to WARNO. If they made it a thing that happens at the start of the game only. Say, instead of using the Airborne trait to basically set your units forwards, you can also choose to bring them in like an IL-76, right? And sort of power drop them into the front line. That would be kind of cool, I think, if they could maybe add that later down the line. But I don't think we will, because of the mechanics that are already in the game with the forward deployment for certain units. So, a bit unfortunate. But either way, Spets Razvedka shifting forwards here through the tree lines, and you'll notice that the RT Razvedka now moving forwards. Now, the one thing I really liked about using these is they are so safe to use, because you know that if anything's in the blue circle, anything's threatening you, you can just move back until there's not anything in the blue circle. And when there's not anything in the blue circle and you want to move forwards, you know that you can, because like, I know I'm walking up to this tree line and there's nothing there. Now, the big problem that you usually have with Recon is you're like advancing into like a position and you don't know what's there. So you're kind of advancing onto contact with a Recon unit, and quite often this will cause a Recon unit to get killed. But with the RT Razvedka, it's almost impossible to do that, because you know, based on the SIGINT trait, if there's going to be anything ahead of you or not. And yeah, it's really, really cool. Really, really strong unit as well. So the BRDMs moving through on this right-hand side now. I just kind of fast moved them up this road, going to start putting pressure onto this sector, and you'll see that I have got quite a lot of reinforcements on the way. MiG-31's still hanging around on the back side here, looking for kills onto the enemy Eagles. I do manage to find one. Thermobaric bombs coming in for the drop onto the sector here. Do manage to get quite a lot of work done. MiG-31 looking for the kill onto the Phantom, does manage to find it, unfortunately shot down by enemy AA. Su-24 hanging about to make sure that we can take advantage of any radar AA that turns on. But the Su-24 are going to be getting out there. This MiG-31, these two trying to take care of the Etendard cluster. We do manage to take it out. Now the Super Etendard coming over does manage to kill my poor truck on the backside there. Ends up paying for it with its life. Lots and lots of aircraft. Huge air engagement there towards the end of this game. We are on 1,800 points. Only 200-ish more to go. I'm lacking quite a lot of AA on this right-hand side at this point, because you are almost solely reliant on the MiG-31s. BMD going to be able to get its RPG-7VL on target. Thessaloniki Metis also going to be able to help with the AMX 1390. Nona's now going to be pasting the corner of that sector. On the right-hand side, preparing for an attack, I've got two BMD-2s, two BMD-3s. We've got all the Spes Grouper, the Thessaloniki, and the Desant Polomachiki. BAB does get taken out by the Nonas. That was good. And that means that we're going to basically full cap the sector again. And that's going to push us to the point of victory. Crusader coming in here. Another of the new units. I think the Crusader's pretty cool. The way that it's got those missiles like mounted on the side of it. Bit of an ugly aircraft in my opinion, but very sort of interesting design. See my artillery here now running away as all of the infantry that was protecting them is now dead. Reservists coming up to try and contest, but the number of BMDs and such I have now here, really able to just clean them out. Now 20 seconds left on the clock. I think ideally, instead of putting all of my airstrikes over on the left-hand side here just a minute ago, I probably should have saved them for a big strike on the right-hand side, as it would have just cleaned this out and allowed us to get into Ivan. Super Etendard trying to come over from Tommy. Let's launch a missile straight into the BMD-2. But we're still making good progress. The BMD-3s were smoked off there. But either way, that is it. The end of the game. And after 31 minutes and 41 seconds, we are victorious. I did end up with the most kills, which I found surprising. 7,490 kills to 4,320 losses with a 1.73 KD. Really, really fun game on the new map. And yeah, hopefully you enjoyed the sort of little showcase of the new map there. I think Stoneware, super, super interesting map. Actually a really hard map to master because of the line of sight. Due to those sort of rolling hills and the big quarries there, making it very difficult to play around. It does sort of cause a bit of a choke point on that center sector in between the two quarries. But you can see how well the Spets Grouper did here, taking out the commandos, gendarmes, managed to take out the Marines later on. The Su-24 thermobarics, they're okay. Like, they're not as good as HE, unfortunately. It seems like they actually do more damage to vehicles at the moment than HE does, which is kind of counterintuitive. I think they're supposed to be like the other way around or something. So I think they will be adjusted in the future, and we might see them just like be wiping infantry out of buildings entirely. But at the moment, it seems like HE is still the best bet to do that. MiG-31's super strong as always. Look at this Spes Grouper. Absolutely got the better of all of those sappers eventually, and the Marines. Thessaloniki Metis, really, really strong in that position. It was like the perfect range for them. Yeah, Metis still very meta. But that's it for now. Hopefully you guys enjoyed a look at the 76th Airborne and the new map Stoneware. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.